In a world that never stops talking, where every street corner and every screen begs for your attention, a young man named Haruki felt an emptiness he could not explain. He left the bright lights and loud crowds of Kyoto behind, following only the whisper of an old rumor. High in the misty mountains, a monk had discovered a secret that could calm even the busiest mind. When Haruki arrived at the hidden temple, the sky was heavy with clouds that shivered in the wind. No one greeted him at the gate. He stepped inside, heart pounding, and found a narrow path leading past ancient stone lanterns and gnarled trees. At the end of the path, beside a still pond, sat an old monk wrapped in simple robes. The monk's eyes were closed, yet Haruki felt them on him like soft lantern light in the dark. Haruki swallowed hard. He asked softly, "Why do I feel so scared of silence?" The monk opened his eyes with a slow breath, as if the air itself carried the question. Without speaking, he pointed toward a fallen leaf drifting on the water's surface. Haruki leaned in, heart hammering, and listened to the faint ripple. In that single moment, the noises in his head began to quiet, just enough to notice his own breath. But before he could smile, the wind picked up, tossing ripples across the pond like tiny waves of memory. For days after, Haruki chopped wood at sunrise, each strike echoing against the mountain walls. He meditated under a waterfall at midday, the cold shock of water awakening every nerve in his body. At dusk, he planted seeds in a small garden, pressing each one into the soil as if placing hope itself into the earth. Every night as he lay on a thin straw mat, doubts crept in like shadows. Would he ever escape the noisy world? Was he wrong to believe that peace could be found here? On the fifth night, under a sliver of moonlight, a storm broke loose. Thunder rolled through the valley, rattling doors and shattering calm. Haruki raced outside to see the tallest pine tree split in two, its broken trunk like a snapped spine. Rain lashed his face as he knelt in the mud, heart pounding with fear and awe. He brushed his hand across the damp roots and found a single green shoot pushing upward. In that violent darkness, a spark of life refused to die. Haruki realized then that solitude was more than being alone. It was facing a storm and choosing to grow anyway. As dawn bled into soft gold, Haruki returned to the pond and saw a wanderer resting on its edge. The stranger's cloak was torn, and his eyes were heavy with exhaustion. Without a word, Haruki handed him a gourd of cool water. The traveler lifted it with shaky hands and whispered, "I have walked through fire and sorrow. My soul is thirsty." Haruki simply nodded and bowed, then sat beside him in silence. The stranger closed his eyes and listened to the water's whisper, the wind through bamboo, and the steady beat of his own heart. When the man stood to leave, his face shone with a strange light, an echo of calm that Haruki had never seen in a traveler's eyes. The stranger pressed a small wooden charm into Haruki's palm and spoke for the first time. "Carry this with you when you face your greatest fear. Remember that even broken branches can bear new leaves." Then he vanished down the mountain path as if he had never been there. Haruki stared at the charm, turning it over in his hand. The carving on it matched the symbol etched on the lid of his own travel pack, the same pack he had carried from Kyoto. A sudden shiver ran down his spine. Had the stranger been the old monk in disguise? Or had Haruki carried this lesson inside him all along, waiting for the right moment to awaken? As the sun rose fully, he understood that solitude was not a place on a map, but a path he walked within. With steady breath, Haruki packed his things and prepared to leave the temple. He paused at the gate and glanced back at the silent stones and the empty pond. The mountain air felt lighter now, as if the wind carried a promise rather than a threat. Whatever noise lay ahead in the world below, he knew he could meet it with a quiet mind and an open heart. And in that realization, Haruki smiled for the first time in a long time. Solitude was his canvas, and every moment of silence was a brushstroke shaping the person he was becoming.